Welcome back. This is the Lightforge Arena tier list card valuation thing for Scholomance Academy. 2 times in a row getting it right. This is Abukta.
Congratulations. I mean, this is, you know what? I'm so proud of you. All right. Anyways, for this segment, we are going to finish up all the neutral cards. So the kind of subpar-ish neutral cards, and we're going to talk about all the legendaries, which I know a lot of you are excited about because for some reason you guys like big, fancy, shining legendaries.
Even though they're rarely going to be seen in the arena. Although, never say never. They do weird things with offering odds. Like Dragon Queen Alexstrasza was like offered so frequently. Like legit offered.
Yeah,
the Zephyrs, yeah, as well. Like, so you never know.
Zephyrs had to offer Lotus for some reason. Like, it was just offered more than other legendaries, and no one understood why.
Yeah, because they liked it more, and they were like, "We're gonna make Arena more fun with Zephyrs." Because clearly, that's what Zephyrs is, fun. Cool. All right. So first, we're gonna talk about Educated Collins. I mean, Educated Alec. It's the first thing I thought of when I saw this card. I don't know why else they would name it Educated instead of something else. I don't know if they've ever confirmed if it was a nod to Collins, but I like to think it's a nod to Collins.
Why didn't they let Collins reveal
right?
Works,
built in. I don't care if the naming had nothing to do with him. This is like, I guess he's a Battlegrounds player now, and so they don't care about like new cards. So, you know, maybe they would have if he was a constructed player.
I guess so.
So anyway, Educated Alec is a 3-mana 3/4 beast. Whenever a spell is played, so not spell burst, but whenever a spell is played, this minion remembers it. Deathrattle, shuffle the spells into your deck. If you're listening to this and you can't see the picture, it's an elephant trying to like read a book and failing because he's an elephant and he can't open books. At least not without like a surface to put it on. But it's an elephant. So that's why it's trying to remember spells. And then it'll shuffle it into your deck. Kind of cute.
Yep. It's a pretty cool idea. It's pretty fun. But for the purposes of Arena, yeah, it's not great. And the effect isn't necessarily a pure positive sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is. But look, a 3-mana 3/4 that has a tribal tag is always going to be pretty useful, right? So, it's a 1/11. I don't think we need to say that much more about it. Okay. So past that, we have Enchanted Cauldron. This is a 106. So remember, these are all lower now than a Yeti. Enchanted Cauldron, 3-mana 1/6 spell burst, cast a random spell of the same cost. First of all, a 3-mana 1/6 is not the worst bottom.
Yeah,
it's not the best, but it's not the worst. We've seen 3-mana 1/6s before, and they're really annoying to remove. And there's a certain benefit to that as well. Now, the spell burst, it can definitely backfire. You definitely want to be a little bit careful in how you use it. Is it a positive? It could be. As an infinite player, you don't really want to be risking it at the same time. But that's sort of where you end up with this. You accept some risk. There's definitely an upside to it. And also, you can kind of get to choose, right? Because if you play a huge spell, you might not want to do that with this on the board. But if you play a small spell, even if there's a downside, the downside isn't like that huge, and the upside is going to be higher. So Enchanted Cauldron, it's okay.
I'd go the opposite. I would play the biggest spell I can with this guy because the larger spells are more likely to not be able to hurt you.
Well, what you want to do is see what position you're in. You know, because big spells have big effects.
Yeah, but they're not like double-sided or like you don't have like assassinates for more than 6 mana. You know, like if I could play a 7-mana spell or a 6-mana spell, I'm pretty much guaranteed. Like I have a pretty good shot at it not being negative for us.
Right. Well, this comes into the skill of it, right? If you're ahead, you definitely don't want to play an 8-mana spell because you don't want to risk the Twisting Death. So stuff like that. Yeah. So when we talk about all of this stuff, it's like, you know, you can't just talk about big spells or anything. But what I mean by small spells is that no matter what, there's no 1 mana Twisting Nether as of right now. There's no 1 mana Twisting Nethers. There's no 2 mana Twisting Nethers at this point.
Right.
So yeah,
like, and the odds always favor you. Like that's why Puzzle Box is so good too. Like overall, if you roll it enough times, it's gonna favor you. So like you only get to roll this once, but you get to control whether you trigger the RNG or not.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we're at with Cauldron. Next card is a Sneaky Delinquent. This is at a 106. It's a 2 mana 3/1 stealth. Deathrattle, add a 3/1 ghost with stealth to your hand. You just get another copy of it. 2 mana 3/1 stealth is fine. It's okay-ish. Getting another one is definitely good, but as you saw with the Fishy Flyer and with the Smug Senior, it's just not as high as it could be because of all the card generation. And by printing Sneaky Delinquent with Fishy Flyer and Smug Senior, you are basically saying, yeah, your hand is definitely going to be full of cards. And once again, it's an opportunity cost. Do you want to spend your mana to play kind of a subpar-ish 2-drop? Not really. The stealth is good, but it definitely holds like the overall sort of what you're getting with the mana. It's holding it back from being much higher than a 106.
So all of these like generate a ghost copy of itself on Deathrattle in your hand cards. Like they're all kind of the same. It's not a coincidence that the 6 mana one's rated the highest, the 4 mana one's rated after that, and the 2 mana one's rated this low. It's because when you add a card back into your hand, you want it to generally be bigger. Like the Sneaky Delinquent's fine on turn 2, but on turn 8, it's kind of crap, right? And the card that you get back, you're guaranteed to not be able to play it on turn 2. So you're just like, and I mean, same for the other ones, but they're just more impactful later on, right? One has Rush, so always use one. The other was just a pretty big taunt. This guy, I mean, Stealth is better than nothing, but it's a 2 mana card.
Yeah, definitely. So past Sneaky Delinquent, we drop a little bit, and we get to what?
I want to talk about this guy card, Wandmaker. Okay. So it's a 99. It's a little low. I wouldn't blame you if you took it a little higher. I would not take this card over a Yeti. But it's a 2 mana 2/2 Battle Cry. Add a 1-cost spell from your class to your hand. So the way things are going these days, like a 4 mana 4/4, for example, that adds a random spell to your hand is a totally normal card. So when it's a 2 mana 2/2, which is pretty crappy, and then it adds a random spell, and it's only a 1-cost spell, it's not going to be a good card. Now, in every single class, there are bad 1 mana spells, with the exception of one class. And I'm going to tell you right now, the algorithm is not considering it on that level. We can make it considered on that level. We did not have time. But like we said, like ZD Man is literally finishing up the legendary cards right now. So there's one class, and that one class is Shaman. The worst 1 mana card in Shaman is a Frost whatever shock thing, which is an okay card. Every other class has complete misses. Like, we're talking like cards that basically do nothing. Druid is probably your second best option. Its worst card is the 1 mana card that summons you like a random minion from your deck after you play 10 mana's worth of minions. It's not a good card, but at least does something, right? Especially at the late game when you're probably like getting it. Does Demon Hunter have a miss? Does Demon Hunter not have a miss? Did I miss Demon Hunter?
Demon Hunter has some pretty good stuff, but they have like philosophy.
Yeah, Demon Hunter has philosophy.
Double jump, which is not it's okay. Like,
okay, double jump is potentially okay. Philosophy is probably bad. Like, you need a demon in your hand.
And also mana burn, which is
mana burn is also kind of iffy. Like, I wasn't too impressed by Demon Hunter. But
there's a Demon Companion, which I think some people think is a super premium, and as you see, we don't think that.
Well, they can't see it yet, but yes, preview. We don't think Demon Companion is particularly great. But yeah, so Wandmaker overall is a pretty big risk to have a pretty bad card because it's completely random. you're going to see a high roll enough times, but you're also going to see a low roll. And remember, this algorithm is presuming you're a 75% win rate player. So the RNG penalty is there. And for these 1-mana cards, they swing pretty high. Like, they swing kind of higher than just normally if you were to just like get like a random 4-mana spell or something. So, like, even if you get a good 1-mana spell, it's not great because it's only 1 mana. And when you get a bad 1-mana spell, it's utterly worthless in the way that the vast majority of other spells aren't. So the risk reward is not quite there for this card to be like a Yeti level card. But I think Shaman may be an exception.
Yeah, so you can sort of say you can put a hold on this score for now, just because it is different from class to class, and but yeah, I think some people were gonna be higher on this than we are. I don't know. Like,
people are thinking about using it to trigger spell burst. Yeah, it helps, but keep in mind how many spell burst cards you're gonna have in your hand in your entire deck. Like, you're going to have more spells than you're going to have spell burst cards. So will help trigger spell burst? Yes. But are you going to put a 2-mana 2/2 in your deck so that it helps you trigger spell burst? That's not, like, don't let the cost be higher than the effect. 2-mana 2/2s suck. They suck on curve. They suck after the curve. They're bad.
So look at it this way. A River Croc is a 96, and you're giving up a stat over a River Croc, which has...
That's not River Croc. Let's find a 2-mana 2/2. We got a 2-mana 2/2s in this game, right?
I mean, we do, so...
What's a 2-mana 2/2? Parachute Brigand is a 67. That's your 2-mana 2/2 pirate, where you have to play a pirate to summon it from your hand, so it's not triggering all that often in this meta. So that's a 67. So this card's getting 32 points for adding a random, not a discover, just a random 1-mana spell to your hand. That's not bad, right? Like, you're really going to give it more than 32 points for a 1-mana spell? You shouldn't.
Yeah.
So
if you have a problem with the score of Wandmaker, then essentially you need to say, I think that the Parachute Brigand is much higher than a 67, which
it's not.
2-mana 2/2 suck. 2-mana 2/2s are terrible. They're just so bad. Yeah. That's it.
So, like, this, I think people are going to get carried away with this card, and the randomness is really pretty big. So if you look at average stats, it's going to average out higher than this. But if you're a 75% win rate player, as this tier list assumes, you should stay away from it. It's not undraftable. At 99, you're going to draft it. This is where, like, Frostwolf Warlord is. It's where Boulderfist Ogre is. For 2-drops, like, Merps was saying, it's like River Croc, Dollar and Librarian, Loot Hoarders. They're all here. By the way, Loot Hoarder is a 97 now. This card used to be so high. But because we have so many cards now in your hand, like, Loot Hoarder's ability has... Just card draw abilities in general are just, like, low in this meta.
So sad, man.
Yeah.
So sad.
But yeah, these are all pickable cards. You're going to have these cards in your deck. So when we rate this a 99, that's in no way saying don't pick this card. Just, like, recognize that it's not a good card. Like, it's not like a above average in your deck kind of card. It's a below average in your deck kind of card, but still in your deck. Okay.
Let's move on. The next card is Robes of Protection. 3-mana 2/4. Your minions can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. It's okay. Once again, I think some people really like this effect, and yeah, it could be decent, but you are giving up a stat point for it. As a 3-drop, it's pretty terrible. You can't really play a 3-mana 2/4. Like, it's just pretty freaking bad.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just trade with a decent number of 2-drops. It'll just get dominated by a decent number of 3-drops. So that's where it's at. It's at 95.
Yeah. It's like you don't want it in your deck. If you do happen to have it, it's not gonna kill you. It's just not good on curve. Like it's better later on. So I like the design wise in terms of like how that works. But I also don't like these like gotcha cards, right? Like if you put a Robe of Protection, now all of a sudden you've like made your opponent's card literally unplayable on the targets they want. Like that's not. I don't know. I never like these kinds of evasive type like effects where it's just purely counters a particular counterplay. That may be good in a like to generate rock paper scissors, but you're in the arena. It's not rock paper scissors in the arena. You just take what Blizzard gives you. So you're going in and you're like, well, Blizzard gave me a rock. I need a scissor. Whoops. Like you want to minimize those kinds of situations, and cards like this maximizes those kinds of situations.
Yeah. Next we have Sorcerous Substitute. This is a 6-mana 6/6 battlecry. If you have spell damage, summon a copy of this. So you are either just getting a 6-mana 6/6, which is understated, aka it sucks, or you're getting 6 mana and double 6/6s, 12/12 worth of stats and split bodies, which is amazing, like super ridiculously amazing. So
how often are you going to have spell damage on the board?
Spell damage is really, really rare. It's not something that you commonly find in the arena. This card is obviously going to be higher for like Mage and Shaman. In Shaman, for example, it is a 103, so about 10 points higher. Not crazy. Yes, you can generate the totems. Are people going to prioritize getting rid of the totem? Definitely. That it's not, people don't just leave up spell totems randomly. So if they have a choice, aka if they are at least even on the board, they're getting rid of the trigger. And if you don't have any,
it's a little higher in Shaman, I think. It's definitely accounting for it.
Yeah, no, it's 103.
No, okay, yeah. So okay, so it's getting to like 12 points for it. That's more than I thought, actually.
Yeah, it's getting like 10, 12 points for it, and that's sort of where you're at. Like sometimes you will lose to this card, unfortunately, because of the ridiculous high roll potential, and it'll be really infuriating when on turn 8 Shaman has no board and they just like click the totem and it gets spell totem and then they play.
Even that's not that bad. That's 8 mana for 2 6/6s, right? At this point, you're like, all right, you gained an extra what, like 2/2 stats on the board?
Yeah, so that's why it's just not that good.
Yeah,
I don't think more has to be said about that. Then the next 2 cards I think are actually quite interesting. The next card is Ogremancer at an 86. This is a 5-mana 3/7. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, summon a 2/2 skeleton with taunt.
To give you an idea what 86 is, this is Grubashi Berserker, Lord of the Arena, Oasis Snapjaw levels. This is not a good card.
When I first saw the score, I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And this is a card I had multiple conversations with Adult about. I was like, it has to be higher. And at the end of the day, after a lot of discussion, it goes down to how bad a 3/7 body is. And yes, you can semi-prevent them from casting spells. Not really. You don't actually prevent them, right? You spawn a 2/2 taunt. It's not nothing, but it's not like the biggest punish, right? It's not like summon. It's not like Trogzor that just kind of like stops spells from being cast almost. It's really just a body that gets dominated by other 5-drop bodies, and it gets dominated pretty hard. And once again, it doesn't stop spells, so people can still cast it if it's like supremely beneficial for them. And like whenever it's just like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, I can kind of see it. Would I like it higher? Yeah. But this is one of those cards in which I looked at it, I was like, oh, it has to be higher. Actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
And your opponent doesn't have that many spells. I keep talking about this with Spell Burst and all this stuff. There's not that many spells in this meta. Yes, Scholomance Academy added a bunch of spells, but you're also dealing with just how arena offering odds work. Now, keep in mind, a lot of things would actually be different in the rating if they do something like bring back the spell bonus. Because remember, there's no spell bonus in the offering rates anymore, and there hasn't been for like a whole year. So we've been living in this world where there is no spell bonus. But if the spell bonus comes back, that's going to be different. Like right now, it's just class cards versus not class cards. And they used to have a spell bonus on top of that.
So if you are looking at this meta and you're like, wait, I thought there were tons of spells. No. There's tons of initiative minions now. There's tons of dragons, and there's tons of rush cards.
Lots of rush.
So you might think that there are more spells because you're like, oh, nothing sticks to the board that often, or as much as I think it sticks to the board. Everything gets removed. People always have answers. Yeah, it's Rusty Raiders. It's Twin Tyrants. It's Evasive Worms. It's all of these things, and it's cards that generate those, right? They generate more Tyrants, more Evasive Worms, et cetera, et cetera. Or like lackey generations, and lackeys do more stuff. So you sprinkle some spells in there, but actually it's a lot of these minions that are doing these spell-like things. So a lot of the most powerful, quote, spells aren't spells at all. And that's something I had to cope with as well. I was like, oh, but there's a ton of spells. Oh, no, it's all rush.
It's all rush minions. Everything you think is a spell is a rush minion.
Yeah.
All right, next is a card. It's my favorite card. And by my favorite card, I mean it's like the card I really will never play. It is a Wretched Tutor. It is an 85. It's basically the same score as Ogremancer. You're down here with your Fen Creepers and your Gnomish Inventors. It's bad. Yeah, it's a 4-mana 2/5 spell burst. Deal 2 damage to all other minions. Some people think it's a good card. Now, I will explain to you why we do not think this is a good card. So, how do you play this card? 1, you play it like a 4-drop. Terrible. Super bad. Worth like 20 points. Like, it's a 2/5. It blocks you from playing spells potentially if you have the board. But that's okay. You're not going to have the board. But then it's just going to die. You're going to lose. It's just terrible. So, not really a 4-drop. Second way to play it, as a spell, basically. So, you got to combo it with another spell. You got to combo it with another spell, which means now you're holding 2 cards in your hand waiting for this combo to trigger. While you're holding these 2 cards, you need to make it so your opponent sets up a board, and you can't set up a board, but you have to spend your mana in some way or shape or form. Or you have to luck into this kind of thing where you want a Volcanic Potion the whole board. Will it happen sometimes? Sure. There's a lot of penalty to doing this. The penalty being you're not doing stuff to win the game and your opponent is. And what's the payoff? You deal 2 damage to a couple of minions. At the cost of like having a 2/5 on the board instead of at least a 4/5 on the board. And if you're playing this on turn 6 or later, it would be a 5/5 if you just had like a regular neutral card. Instead of a 4/5, because you can't play it on curve. So that's not particularly good either. And then what's the third way you can do it? Well, in the later part of the game, you throw it out there, kind of get a little bit of tempo, and then magically the board works, and then you trade some minions in, you play a spell, and you get all the value out of it. Gonna happen less than 20% of the time when you do put it out, like just throw it out when you have the board. So normally when you throw it out and you have the board, or you're sort of fighting for the board, you can't even play spells. Like if they play a big thing and you want to assassinate it, you can't. Or, I mean, you will anyway, because the assassinate is so powerful, but you will then just deal damage to your own minions, or probably just one single other minion. Like, it's just a negative. So, overall, this ability is not that big of a positive.
Nope.
And the body is extremely terrible.
It's so bad. It's so bad. You can't play a 4-mana 2/5. You really can't. Like, this is going back to the Gnomish Inventor kind of thing, right? Where you just can't give up that many stats for a positive effect, period. And then you can't give up that many stats for a positive effect that still needs an additional trigger. You just can't do that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it really just dooms this card. Once again, look, in the correct deck, can this do some work? Yeah, sure. It could. Maybe. But like, man, it just needs so much support. It needs so much like heavy lifting to make this do something. That's why it's got that low of a score.
Yeah. So you have here, this is the second worst card in the neutral category. Like, and it's crazy to me that some people think this is like a better than average card. Now we'll go to the worst card. It is, to no one's surprise, a Death Gimp. It's not even cute. It should be cuter. That's all I have to say. The 0 mana 1/1 demon.
It's the same as Wisp, if you're wondering. There is no difference.
There's
no difference.
Okay. Moving on to what you really care about, the legendaries. Let's talk about the most interesting legendary in the game. And by that, I mean the legendary you will never ever draft if you are playing the game seriously. Welcome to Spear of Sapiens at 45 points. The Spear of Sapiens is the first neutral weapon. You hold it in your hand for 1 mana, and it says, at the start of your turn, look at your top card. You can put it on the bottom and lose 1 durability. So you don't lose any durability if you don't trigger it. And it has 4 triggers. It costs a mana to do this, which is not bad. You'll pay a mana to do this. But unlike, let's say, tracking, you don't get the card back. You lose a card. Why do you lose a card? You should not lose a card. You know why you lose a card? You lose a card because in Constructed, if you dig up the right card, you win the game. That's why you lose a card. In Arena, you either have a decent number of the right cards that are roughly the same power level, or you have no right cards because your deck is normal and it sucks. Like, if you happen to have a Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and you made your deck like that, like, fine, right? But for the most part, your decks are not going to use this particularly well. And even if it uses it particularly well, this is a card designed to be safe. It's like innovative design for Hearthstone. Obviously, it's not actually innovative design. It's a pretty basic Magic design. But it's innovative for Hearthstone. And we actually have to program the whole mechanic into the freaking algorithm, because this whole, like, finding cards, deciding cards, removing cards from your opponent's hands, like swapping your whole like hand out, like Shadow Council and stuff. Like, we had to put that whole thing in with this expansion. And this just comes out super low because they're being careful. Like, Blizzard's introducing this new mechanic, and they will build on it, and they will make better cards than this. But this one is meant to suck, even in Constructed, I think.
So I see people that don't really understand this concept of when you say losing a card, and I don't get why people don't get this, but I feel like you should explain it because people.
Oh, okay, fine. You don't mill cards or anything like that. When you do, you lose the card because Sphere of Sapiens is a card. You were going to draw a card, instead you drew the Sphere of Sapiens, and then you played it, but it didn't do anything. So you have lost a card.
Remember, the card that you draw with tracking was not a card that takes up your draw. So what this does is it allows you to reorganize your draw that you were going to get anyways. Tracking replaces itself.
Yeah,
right?
you're down a card with this. I'm not saying like, oh, if you choose to put a card in the bottom of the deck, you lose it. No. That's not what I'm talking about, because you're going to draw another card to replace it. I'm talking about the fact that Spear of Sapiens itself is a card. You would have had another card if you didn't have this card, and this card does not give you another card. This card just replaces the card you would have gotten.
And also, part of the reason that tracking is so good is the immediacy of it. The immediacy of drawing that. So not only do you replace it with tracking, the problem with Sphere of Sapiens is when you play it, it does absolutely nothing. When it comes back to you, it does a small little bit of something. And then, so after an entire round of it coming back to you, it has done a tiny little bit of good. Like a very, very little bit of good for you paying a mana and a card. Like, a card is worth a decent amount. And after 4 turns, has it done something that is like pretty decent? Yeah. Like, I would like to sort of cycle through my deck and, pick and choose and whatever. But then once again, you're not really sorting your deck as well, because a lot of times you just want the card that is presented to you. So you didn't even gain anything, right? You didn't really gain anything at all. You're just taking what you would have gotten. So this card sucks. Yeah. I don't understand when people think that it's like any sort of decent.
It's not even remotely playable. And we're talking about this from a mage perspective, where you don't have, like, mage, it's 51, for example. If you go to rogue, someone brought up, like, oh, and it, like, deactivates rogue's hero power. It's a 43 in rogue. It's just kind of like, at that point, like, at the point that you play it, like Demon Hunter may seem like it's good because it doesn't affect anything, but it doesn't even do anything. It just, like, uses up the charges, so it's not actually good. Warrior, it's like 36 because you really can't play it. And Rogue, at least, like it deactivates your hero power, but you do when you have low health or something, right? Like, I don't know. It's bad. I don't want to talk more about this card.
No,
it's just bad.
Okay, so we should talk about some pretty good things.
Okay, let's move up. Let's go to the second to worst legendary, but that's still pretty good.
Which is quite good. We have Headmaster Kelthuzad, a 5-mana 4/6 spell burst. If the spell destroys any minions, summon them. So once again, this is a little bit class specific, right? This is going to be a little bit class specific. You are giving up a stat point in order to do this, but man, that effect is super ridiculously powerful.
You need a spell that destroys something, though.
That's the thing. You need a spell that destroys something, and you have to kind of pair. Like, are you playing on the same turn? Well, that's really expensive, right? And if you're not playing the same turn, you're just playing kind of like you need this to survive. So it's got crazy potential, but it's not easy for it to trigger that often. In Mage, this is a 123. In Priest, for example, it's a 118. In Rogue, it's a 121. Like, Rogues have cheap ways and not so cheap ways of removing single targets, right? That's what Rogue is good at. So yeah, it's good. But it's definitely not crazy. Like, this is one of those cards in which the score is sometimes going to be like, a 250 score on level card when it does pop off. And then sometimes it's just an understated 5. So the variance of this is going to be pretty high.
All I have to say is Headmaster Kelthuzad plus Hellfire.
Yeah, I know. The AoE is also pretty sick. But once again, has to live a turn. You have to have Hellfire.
It doesn't have to live a turn. Turn 9. Turn 9, Hellfire, right, Headmaster Kelthuzad. You throw your big giant minion on the board into somewhere so it gets killed by the 3 damage, but then it gets resummoned, so it basically gets healed, and it has a Deathrattle, and the Deathrattle pops off.
I know.
Millions of stats.
So some other people are like, if it just lives a turn, it's insane. No. It has to live a turn, and you have to have a spell that can... You have to have a spell. That spell has to deal damage or kill something, and the thing that you kill has to kind of matter.
Yeah,
right?
And the spell has to not be overkilling something. So if you have a Headmaster Kelthuzad, and you have an Assassinate, and your opponent plays 3/3/3s, that's not a great use of your Assassinate, even if you get a 3/3 back.
Right. So, no. And once again, you don't have that many spells. A spell has to destroy a minion. Not your Rusty Raider, not your Twin Tyrant, not your Evasive Worm, which really are the majority of your things that have initiative and are killing things. Mm-hmm. It's not really spells. So the fact that it's this high is it's pretty good.
It has pop-off potential. Huge swing potential.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're wondering, just a regular 5-mana 4/6 would be I think a less than a 90 maybe.
Yeah,
it's bad.
So it's quite good.
Okay.
Next we have Keymaster Alabaster. This is a 133, so we're getting pretty high. Remember, 133 is quite a bit higher than Yeti. The average score of a card that you draft in your deck, it's what, a 120-ish?
A little less than 120. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So this is quite a good card if you draft it. It's a 7-mana 6/8. Whenever your opponent draws a card, add a copy to your hand that costs 1. Look, obviously the effect is really good. The problem is just that it doesn't do much other than give you cards. Now, It gives you a really cheap card, but it still gives you cards. And sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you need it to just do more than give you value, which we all know value is, comes in many, many ways nowadays.
Yeah, when you get to 7 mana, you just need to start doing stuff. And this one kind of doesn't do enough stuff most times. And if you're thinking, oh, but prevents my opponents from drawing cards, okay, your opponent can wait a turn to draw cards, right? Like, this is one of those, like, win more cards. You have the board, right? Your opponent doesn't have a hard removal, and then you keep it on the board for a few turns, and it gains its value, like, back by, like, the second draw, and then it has, like, some, like, really good value by, like, the third draw. Or you just, like, get lucky with it, right? You play it, and then they draw their mind control, and then, like, they mind control your guy, and then you mind control them back for 1 mana, fill your board, and win the game. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you're, like, thinking about, but it's very RNG. And again, like, you want less RNG, right? Like, there's RNG penalties built all in this algorithm because it assumes you have a 75% win rate if there is no RNG in the game.
Yep. All right. Next, we have Vectus. Vectus is a 155. So remember, Adwicta has this like kind of cutoff at 150. Anything above 150 is like maybe shouldn't be in the game kind of levels of good.
It's a yeah, okay, fine. 150, 160. I've kind of upped it recently just to like account for the fact that this game's getting more ridiculous. But
it's a 160 now.
It's a 160 now. We've inflated it.
Okay, so Vectus is coming in at a little bit below that. All right. Vectus is a 5-mana 4/4 Battlecry summon 2 1/1 whelps. So already you're getting the stats that you're happy with, right?
Yep.
5 mana for 4/4, double 1/1s. You're like, okay, that's decent stats. Each gains a Deathrattle from your minions that died this game. That's just pure bonus. Like unlike any sort of Deathrattles, and you're gonna have some Deathrattles. If you have no Deathrattles, it's okay-ish, right? It's obviously now 155 if you have 0 Deathrattles.
It's probably like a 100.
Yeah. But if you have any sort of beneficial Deathrattles, this becomes absolutely insane. So I think it's easy to see why it's a 155. It's another one of those cards that really doesn't give up anything, and the synergy quote is super easy to fulfill. Just draft a couple of decent Deathrattles. That's it. Really good. Now,
the number 1 legendary at the very top, better than Zephrys. It's not better than Zephrys.
It's not better.
It's not even close to Zephrys.
By the way, Zephrys was one of the only cards that that I petitioned to be above 200, or at least 200. And there is another card in this expansion that we sort of like. That I sort of, we excluded out, and I petitioned for it to be a 200. All right, and you'll see.
Okay.
But
this is not that card.
This is not that card.
It's a good card. It's a very good card.
I think this, we're going to have to discuss this a little bit, because people might be surprised. Number 1 legendary card is Warkeeper Pull Kel. It's a 4-mana 4/5 Battlecry. Reorder your deck from the highest cost card to the lowest cost card.
Okay, so this is what this card does, okay? I'm going to walk you through it, all right? You have a hand, right? So you're playing this game, right? And then it gets to turn 4, and you're like, I want to play a Yeti. Oh, I have a Yeti. So you play the Lorekeeper Pull Kel, and it's a Yeti. And then your draws are magically amazing from this point on. So you still have enough cards to kind of make it to turn, to kind of make it past turn 6. You just play out the rest of your hand. And then on turn 7, you've already drawn enough cards that you would have drawn your 7-drop. Because remember, there's no neutral cards that's being added to this entire set that's above like an 8-drop. But there's only 1 8-drop. And then the rest of them are like 6-drops and whatever. So your hand is not like that heavy. There's a lot of card generation to keep your hand full. Which again also helps with Lorekeeper Pull Kel's initial awkwardness. But overall, in the big picture, you're not like stacking more giant cards into your deck or anything. So you instead pull out all of your large, good card advantage, high impact cards, and your guaranteed good top decks for your next like however long until you win the game. And then all of your small cards, which you don't want to draw as the game goes on, you never have to draw because they're at the bottom of your deck.
So, a common misconception. I've read this for a lot of analyses with Lorekeeper Pull Kel. I think maybe every single one. And obviously I'm talking about arena streamers and arena content creators. I think a lot of them recognize the potential of this card. I think almost universally, and I see this in chat as well, people are like, well, obviously it's good, you can't play it on 4 and it's a late game card, but it's still good. No, you can play this on 4.
You can.
And that is something that I need to stress. People look at it and for some reason they're like, well, obviously you can't play this on 4. No, no, no. If you look at how your deck is structured, and once again, we're talking about like average deck and everything. If you look at the way your deck is structured, because typically on turn 4, you have a play for turn 5, and you can cobble something together on turn 6. So yes, you're drawing something, but it comes together once you can cobble something together for the next 2 turns, which on average you definitely are able to with all the cards that you have, especially because you have all these like fishy flyers and delinquents and
if you don't, like imagine you got screwed and you have 2 Twin Tyrants in your hand. Well, then those Twin Tyrants aren't in your deck, and you're probably going to draw a 6-drop by the time you get to turn 6 at that point. Because like, are you stacking your deck with 8-drops? Like, what's happening? How are you building your deck?
So all you have to do, so a lot of people are like, well, obviously you can't play on turn 4. No, no, no. You can. And not only can you, you
should.
Probably should. You actually should. And this is a major difference, right? Because we don't want you to be in that mindset of like, oh, of course you can't play it on 4. You actually should play it on 4, assuming that you have the normal deck, right? Because it will end up working out. Now, I'm not saying just do it blindly in every single game, but what's holding it back from being evaluated super high, I think, other people, is that they automatically think you can't play it on 4. When if you just run the algorithm, and this is a card in which the algorithm is going to be really good at doing, right? There's some cards that the algorithm just isn't great at doing, and we exclude that. This is actually a card that the algorithm, I think, is great at doing. And the algorithm says, no, no, you're fine. And in fact, what you want to do is actually play it on 4, because what you want on your turn 7 and turn 8, that's when you want your power cards.
Yeah.
What is the weakness of 7 and 8 mana cards? It's the fact that it can screw you earlier on, right? But the later you get onto the game, the more you want to play those. And Blizzard has been rewarding you by putting out big cards that are just so worth it for the cost, right? Look at Wrap Golem, look at Twin Tyrant, look at all these things, and you it matches up. So there's a disconnect. A lot of people think if I play it on turn 4, I mess up my game plan. So yeah, this is good, but I can only play it turn 6 or turn 7, and then it'll be good. No, 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 you can. And a lot of times you should play it on 4 and it'll match up. It will match up, and you will actually gain such a huge advantage by doing so.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside for this, assuming you don't have a crazy deck with I don't know, 4 cards that are 8 mana and above or some crazy thing like that. What'll mess you up is that you become much more predictable after you play this card. Your opponent knows you're going to put a 7-drop on 7, an 8-drop on 8, another large card on 9, another large card on 10. They know, and they can plan that accordingly. That's kind of the only downside. You don't have other downsides. Someone in chat mentioned something like, oh, but what if you're missing your small spells? Why do you need small spells? You have the best cards in the game. Do you want to play your Twin Tyrants, or do you want to play a small spell with your Yeti on turn 6?
If you're in a game situation in which a niche small spell is the only thing that you that can save you, okay, then you're screwed. Right? You're screwed. And it's hard to think of many situations in which you don't want that Twin Tyrant, or you don't want, a Marsh Drake, right? Or because big cards all have initiative now. They either have initiative, they have taunt. They're just really freaking good.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're in a situation in which you need some sort of weird niche small spell in order for you to come back / win, and not being able to draw it at all, loses you the game, you're in a really shitty spot. And 99% of cards in that situation are bad. So the fact that Warkeeper Pull Kel is bad, oh well, that's fine.
Yeah. And this card doesn't hurt you at all in the playing of it. I'm so surprised that this card is just on curve. I can't even imagine what you can do with it in Constructed. But in the arena, just get the big powerful cards. So someone also asked in chat what you do if you get this card in terms of drafting. You get it early, now you can arrange your deck with it. In all seriousness, draft low. because your lower mana cards are much better now with this, because they get stuffed to the bottom of your deck in the late game and you never have to see them. So draft a lower curve than you would otherwise. Also, draft a higher curve in the sense of like the very top, right? Like, don't be afraid of your 10 drops and your 9 drops that you may be more afraid of otherwise, but definitely make sure you have a very strong curve, because your curve being in your deck hurts you less now with this card in it, not more. So you don't want to, you may think, oh, I'll maximize my value and get 18 6-drops. Well, you know what happens when your hand is full of 4 6-drops and it's turn 10? You play a 6-drop, you hero power, and you can't do anything else. It's not good. You want a diversity of mana. Like 5 drops are great, because you can play 2 5-drops at once, right? 6 drops are probably the worst. Like at 7 drop with a hero power, that's kind of okay. 8 drops are wonderful. 9, 10 drops are wonderful. Like, try to avoid 6 drops a bit and just really fill your curve. So that's what, like, I would over curve at that point. I would draft like 6 2 drops, like 5 to 6 3 drops, like 5 4 drops, including this card, and like I'd just go for it, because that's what you would do to win.
So one thing that I think is going to keep the public perception of this card down is that it does require some planning. It requires some planning, and it requires just game recognition. It doesn't require
that much planning.
No. It requires recognition of where you are, and it requires sort of like you to think about it more so than just plopping it down and just being like, all right, whatever happens, happens. So I think this is super cool. Like, first of all, incredibly cool design, which I always appreciate. But this is also one of those cards that, if it comes late in the draft, a lot of times it'll just fit your deck naturally. But if it comes earlier, you can also just draft towards it as well. So yeah, it just ends up being really good. Now, it's not like the best legendary ever printed. It's only a 165, right? Like, only. So yeah, it's good. Are there legendaries that are better than it?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is Octosari level. Like, you're trying to find a comparison. Octosari is also, like, it's an 8 mana, 8/8 that draws 8 cards, right? This is, like, more on curve, and it's just, like, a little smoother than what Octosari, like, gives you. But it's, like, kind of the same idea.
So, on average, quite powerful, but I also will expect some people to play this card once and be like, well, it's the worst card ever. I don't see what these guys see in it. They have to be wrong. I do expect that. So just whenever you are drafting and playing this card, just think, you want to make sure you're thinking about the game at a very deep level to understand what this card is doing, how it is good for you, and what you want to be doing with the game plan, your turns, etc., etc. But yes, this is the best neutral legendary in the set.
All right. Well, that's it for the deep cuts. This is neutral cards, deep cuts. We go over cards worse than the Yeti, and also all the legendaries. The legendaries are good, by the way. All the ones except that weapon is above a Yeti. You're just not going to see them that often. But yeah. After a series of expansions with less than stellar legendaries, we are now back in the good legendary era. So that's it. That's it from us. I want to give a shout out to Natasha and to Brand New, to Connie for putting up with us during this period, and also to Scott's wife. And baby, ZD Man's wife and baby, just to putting up with us all during this release period. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of like just stuff that you have to do. Timing's always really tight. I'm sure we all sacrifice a lot of things life related in the last week or two, and in the next week to get this done. So just thank you all the people around us who support us and put up with us.
Okay.
ZD Man has yeah, she gets mad at me. I mean, I know how much work you put into this. So, I mean, I was very up clear with Brand New when I met her, because I was already doing this. I'm just like 3 times a year for like 2 weeks. I just don't see you. Like, it's okay. we're good. You know, it's not you. This is just I'm just gonna disappear from the world. Like, you know, maybe we'll adjust this when baby duties come around, but not, you know, not when we're just 2 people living together. That's not.
All right. That's it for neutrals. Come back when we talk about the classes. Goodbye.
Demon Hunter. Bye.
Hunter. Bye.